Okay, so welcome everyone to the first Communities for Future session of 2022. This session is dedicated to presenting the European Day of Sustainable Communities, but also give a little taste of what the role of a national contact point for the European Day of Sustainable Communities is, what it does. And we hope also to inspire you to connect more with the European Day of Sustainable Communities and to connect with your national contact points in case you have one in your country, and also to inspire you to become a partner for the European Day of Sustainable Communities. So this is quite an informal session. We all wanted to make this more of a conversation about sharing stories and listening to your questions. Before going more deep into the session, I'd like to present who is here with me and present myself. I'm Sarah. I'm based in Portugal. I'm part of the Elise team where I work as a project manager. And I'm also, for the moment, I'm also Ecological contact point for the national contact points around the European Day of Sustainable Communities. And with me today, I have Laura Caestel from Ecological. Do you want to say a few words, Laura, about yourself?
Sure. So I've joined quite recently the team as a network weaver, and joining this session because I will be organizing more of this in the coming months, and also taking over more of the coordination around the contact points and the events. So I'm curious to connect with all of you and join this session.
Thank you, Laura. And we will also have as special guests, we have Suzie Cahn from Carraig Dúlra in Ireland, and Tebben joining us from France. Suzie and Tebben, do you want to introduce yourselves? Maybe you can start, Suzie.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you and meet you virtually. Yeah, I'm here in Wicklow in Ireland, and I've been the national contact point for the European Day for a few years. So I'm going to talk a bit about that evolution a little bit later. Hopefully you can hear the bird song in County Wicklow as I sit with my computer in a box as I can be outside. I see Karen is doing something similar.
Tebben?
Yes, nice to meet you all. So I'm the national contact point in France. I'm working for an organization whose name is Collectif for a Citizen Transition. And I will talk about La Fête des Possibles, the Festival of the Possibles.
Thank you, Tebben. I want to ask you a question. Is someone here not familiar with Ecological or with Ecological work? So everyone is familiar. Catherine.
Sorry, always forget to unmute. I know of Ecological, but it would be really nice to get an overview of the work that you do and your sort of core aims.
So I'll share my screen. Well, just very, very briefly. So Ecological is a network of members, and some of those members are networks in themselves. And it's the European Network for Community-Led Initiatives on Climate Change and Sustainability. And it works very much with bridging the work that is being done on the ground, on the local level, with the EU level. So lobbying with the European Union so that policies can support and reflect the reality that is happening on the ground. We organize in different. We have different domains of work to support this process, and they all they all are now coming online under this bigger umbrella of the Communities for Future, which is an action program to mainstream climate change and community-led action towards climate change and sustainability. So this is just very brief. We have 48 members spread over 17 European countries, and we are part of projects. We develop projects, and we're part of European consortium. We also do this advocacy work, and we together now with Laura, she's coming online very much also to start developing more Ecolese network and to really have this bridging become much more successful, that resources can reach local level more easily, and the richness and the diversity and innovation that is happening on the ground can also reach the EU level. So this is in a nutshell. So let's do a simple check-in. It's not so many of us here today, so we can, in a live voice, present ourselves very, very briefly. You can just state your organization, and then you can answer these questions on Mentimeter that will help us to know more and to harvest more of why you are here. But let's start with a round. Who is ready to jump in? Angela?
Hello, everyone. It's you listening well? Yeah. It's great to be here, and I'm also based in Portugal, and I've been involved with the Transition Portugal. So, and also with the municipalities in transition. So it's really exciting to see all this development. And what else were we? Anything else?
That's good, Angela. Okay. You can just pass, and then we have these 2 questions on Mentimeter.
I'll pass it to Abdul.
Thank you. So I work at Elise, actually. I'm operation manager there. I'm very excited about the EDSC sessions that's going to happen also this year. Maybe this one will be less online, less hybrid, more physical. So yeah. It's a shame because I joined the co-village movement exactly the first year of COVID. And I was very excited about coming to having a community celebration and preparing to organize it until the end. So I've never organized yet a community event. I organized a Colis's event, the Policy Week in Brussels. So I hope I can organize a real community one. Yeah, I pass it on to Irena.
Hi, my name is Irena. I come from Croatia. I run association with Stigium that is a community center in coordinator for transition initiatives in Croatia, and the contact point for this European Day of Sustainable Communities in Croatia. I have prepared a little presentation about our work, but if it's not necessary, then I don't have to, but if you want, I can share it.
Thank you, Irena. Maybe I can pass the ball to Karen.
Hi, my name is Karen. I'm in Meath in County Ireland, or in County Meath in Ireland. I have been working for the last 6 years as part of the public participation network in Meath and at a national level. And I am representing our largest NGO on Tashka on environmental matters. basically I'm interested in Elise in terms of community sustainability and setting up something at a local level. So that's why I came to the meeting today. So thank you.
Catherine, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Kath Baker. I'm the projects and land coordinator at the Permaculture Association Britain. So yeah, I'm kind of coordinating a network of, I think it's currently about 380 projects in the UK. Some of those land centres are our permaculture demonstration centres. So I'm here because I think that we've got lots of projects that we could potentially get involved in the European Day of Sustainable Communities. So I'm kind of looking for a bit of focus as to what that might look like, you know, so I can begin to get projects excited about being involved. And I will pass to I'll pass to Duncan.
Thanks, Kat. My name is Duncan. I'm from Ireland, but I'm based in Lisbon and part of FUCUL, the Science University here in Lisbon, part of the Ecology Research Lab. I've been working for the last 3 years on the project with Elise on sustainable just cities called Urbana. And that's broken into the next stage now. So supporting that as a network support role for the next year and a half. I'm also stepping in since last August as the kind of temporary national contact point in Portugal after the previous person had stepped out. And I'm also on the current council of Elise, having stood for the elections last year and the co-president at the moment. And besides that, I'm interested in what's needed to kind of reach out further and to get more local communities on the ground involved. And I'm, I suppose, very much interested in taking the wisdom and magic from a lot of the communities that are happening maybe in eco-villages and things like that, but bringing that to more everyday communities where like urban settings where the day-to-day challenges exist for lots of communities, and trying to understand how best we can communicate in ways maybe that are more accessible and make it a way that more people can participate in the adventure as well. So I can pass on to Ad Vlems.
Hello, I'm Altz. I'm initiator of Bukel Eco Village. We are a member of Elise since last year. And we've worked also on the policy papers, 2 of them, of Communities for Future. I really like doing that. And I'm also here as a representative of the Global Eco-Village Network Netherlands, that is an aspiring member of Elise. And I pass it on to Aleg.
Hello, my name is Aleg. I'm from Belarus. I'm a manager of the project about sustainable development of rural territory, rural district. It was a 3-year project funded by European Union. And as a result, we supported local authorities to develop sustainable development strategy for this district. Also, we tried to develop youth sustainable development strategy, because as usual, youth is not so much involved in such work, especially in rural areas. Also, we organized parallel structures of people, not only authorities, to take part in this work. And also, thanks to support of European Union, we organize support in local infrastructure development, especially related with tourism, because it's very interesting natural site. There are big wetlands with a lot of birds in this region. for me is I'm very interested in experience and the contacts with people who works in with local communities. Thanks.
Thank you, Aleg. Very interesting. And can you write the name of this project we're working for and the organization?
It's Together for Community and Nature. Miori districts is the name is Miori, in the north of our country.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I hope you will get a lot of inspiration from this session. Let's just take a look at what's going on in the Mentimeter with your questions. Okay.
I think some people are still missing. Maybe give another minute to go to the link and just quickly answer the 2 questions there.
So why did you give up your time to come to this session? Commitment to Elise. Connect, group commitments, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is very important. Curiosity also, inspiration, support, self-motivation, focus, resilience, learning, ideas. Okay. Love. Interesting. Yeah, just motivation to come. And which community initiatives we have here? So the villages, National Network of the Villages, Transition Portugal, Public Participation Network, and Environmental Network, and projects in the UK. Okay, I think we have a good sample already. So let's go into the juicy part of the session. So now I'm going to pass the ball to Suzie, so she can start unveiling some of the actions and stories around the European and sustainable communities in Ireland.
Great. So I thought I've only a few slides, and I'm happy to take questions and conversation after myself and Tebben have spoken. But I kind of took the view that maybe there would be people listening today or tuning in who don't know very much about the European Day. So I thought I'd take it back a little bit and explain that, at least in my involvement in it in Ireland, that the European Day was launched in 2017. And the idea behind this was that it would really highlight the diversity of projects that exist across Europe that were, I think you'd say, often under the radar. You know, not picked up upon in mainstream media, not picked up upon across European Parliament in policy areas. And so really, you know, the same title that we have on today, it was about making things more visible in the simplest possible way. And so at the beginning, there was a few initiatives that were highlighted, and these would have been related to several of the people that are on the call today. Permaculture events in Ireland, eco-village, existing eco-village, that's what the image is the Clough-Jordan eco-village in County Tipperary, and also Transition Town network in Ireland. So those would have been the same networks that would have wanted to try to bring things from the edges that were maybe seen as the crazy things in the past, the things outside of people's normal experience, and link those directly with community work that goes on in rural Ireland all the time. So I came on board as a volunteer country contact through a connection with a friend that lives in Clough-Jordan Eco Village, because I've been involved with community garden networks, especially permaculture and transition in Ireland. And so my role was to start to reach out to those networks, but also I've done a lot of work in community development and inclusion work, so to try to reach out to other networks over time. And and then in 2019, a small pot of funding was given to each country contact to help with that work. So we could use that in different ways, which we could propose. So this was a type of event that was being held very early on. You know, was everyone that is involved in a local community that might be doing something that is part of leading as a community towards better and sustainable future, and that there are thousands and thousands of bottom-up initiatives. So it's actually quite hard to even, you know, get everybody that is involved in initiatives to register something. But that's kind of what we've been doing, is just like this. We say it's a day, it's actually really usually a week of focus and activity to try and show people what's possible and what communities are already doing, and how so many of the things match up with sustainable development goals, match up with all sorts of policy aims at the European level, at the global level, at the national level, you know, that this is what people are already doing on the ground. So it took us a wee while, you know, as you can imagine, this is a network of networks and a network of community contacts across Europe. So we meet regularly as national contact points, and we've had a couple of iterations of websites but it's actually something that the groups that want to get involved really love, is being able to have a little look, you know, on a website and just click and see, look at the events that are happening in Ireland, or actually look at one in Scotland, look at one in France. And, you know, it gives people the feeling that they're, even if, because often at the local community level, groups are working away and they don't often value themselves, in my view, as much as they should do. And sometimes connecting and spotting that others are doing similar kinds of things across Europe has a very strengthening feeling. We get that feedback from people that get involved in running an event, that they go, wow, there was somebody, and actually some of the similarities of events are quite interesting to see too, you know, the types of things that communities do. So this was one in 2021, which was DIY for climate. There's a centre in Dublin that does bike repair and upcycling and recycling called the Rediscovery Centre. So they hosted a free event on teaching people DIY skills in how to fix things and not throw them out. You know, there was another one. It's 8 communities in Cork who've been doing a 2-year program in helping to come up with projects in their communities through funding from leader funding through CCAD, and they launched that program a couple of years ago as you know, something that they could give visible across Europe as they began their journey. And there's another one there in Donegal looking, and food often shows up in the events. I think a lot of our events have something about food, but Donegal Changemakers ran an event, you know, around the global picture of our food and how far it travels and how that relates to our global to local world. So you can see down there that as they get registered, oh, and then, yeah, just like Abdul was saying, we had a couple of years of COVID, and that actually was interesting because we ran 2 different events in 2020 and 2021 that was able, because, you know, when people didn't have to travel, we were able to network a lot of different networks together at an online event, just like this Zoom meeting. Now, perhaps we're getting Zoom fatigue and we definitely are looking forward to face-to-face events again. But it was actually really great to have Transition Monaghan was involved, and they're in Leitrim, an alliance around energy. Clare transition group and so on, and some county councils and some PPNs like Karen is involved in Meath, you know, come together and share practice and share what we're all up to. So that was an online event. And then we also, for the first time last year, realized we could, because it was digital, actually we could have joint European events. So we had an event with Transition Spain online and talked about Transition Ireland and Transition Spain kind of networked together and talked about their experiences. So that is one of the advantages of the online. So that's me nearly wrapped up. We're in 2022 and we certainly are looking forward to having face-to-face events again. And one of the ideas sometimes is for a country that's running the European Day and the country contact is to do a themed based year. So we're exploring this with Community Gardens Ireland at the moment because of all of the mainstream media talking about food issues in the world much more and talking about shortages and, you know, all of the reasons that's going on. We thought that actually putting out that positive view and showing how much food is being produced in community gardens and allotments and community support agriculture and bulk buying groups and all those. So we're going to focus one, because it is one of the ones that people get together around meals and food so easily, and we think that would be a good theme to relaunch ourselves this year in a more visible way for the European Day in Ireland. So that's a little flavour of how we how it's evolved in the last several years.
Thanks so much, Suzie. Very inspiring. And we can take questions at the end. For now, I'd like to invite Tebben to share about the pet that was sleeping.
Yes, sure. So my English is far from perfect, so if you don't understand me, just ask me again what I said. And I was thinking about sharing my screen to show you what we are doing here in France. So I'm actually working for a French organization who is organizing the Festival of Possibles in France. So I'm not organizing events myself, but my job is to make it as easy as possible for other people to organize events. So I give them all the support I can. Me and my colleagues, we're actually 3 working on the project to make it as easy as possible. So I will share with you my screen and we'll take a look at our website. So yes, we have on the national level a website, and actually the Festival of the Possibles, which is called La Fête des Possibles in France, is happening in France, but also in Belgium. So we are in 2 countries, and we are organized in a way as we gather about 80 national partner organizations. So some of these partner organizations you might know because they also exist on an international level. For example, the Friends of the Earth. For example, what do we have? We have the Fair Trade organizations, the World Cleanup Day. We have, for example, Zero Waste. So that's about 80 organizations in total who have a lot of local-based citizen groups. And what we do is that we mobilize all these local organizations to join the Festival of the Possibles and to organize events. So, for example, in 2021, we had about 500 events organized in France. And which is really nice is that, what is really nice is that we have events everywhere in France, So it doesn't matter where you live, you certainly will have something not so far from your home. And I can take an example of a valley in the Alps, for example, where a lot of events took place. So you can see what kind of events are organized and the diversity of events which are organized. For example, here we are in the valley of Chamonix, you might know. And you see that in this valley, in 2 weeks in September, there were a lot of events organized to show all the things which are happening all year long there to make the shift to a more sustainable and a fairer world. So for example, what could I show you? Yeah, so last year we had a lot of events which were linked to community-supported agriculture, which is called AMAP in France, because the AMAPs, the community, the CSAs, existed for 20 years in France. So we had a lot of events linked to that. And next to that, for example, we had an event about cycling. So yes, which is called a Vélorussion in France. When you go from one place to another with a group of people on bikes to show that it's possible to use bikes as a way of transport. So that's an event which is often organized when people are trying to talk about mobility questions. But also in the same valley, we had, for example, what can I show? We had, oh yeah, this one is a fun one. There was a football tournament organized with refugees because it is close to the Italian border. So there are a lot of refugees coming over. So they organized a football tournament to make people meet these refugees and refugees meet local people. So yeah, a lot of different events, and it they took place over 2 weeks actually. So yeah, things about do it yourself. I'm looking for a last different event maybe to show you. Oh yeah, so this one, for example, was an open door. We have a lot of open doors. I hope this is how you call it, an open door. It's when some places open their doors to make it possible for people to visit it. So this was an open door of the water cleaning infrastructure, station d'épuration in French, to see how what's happening with water. But we also have a lot of open doors of, for example, shared housings, which are called habitat participatif in France. So I don't know if shared housing is the right way to say it. Of collective housing is when people live together to share a place, but also to do things together and to not only to share the house, but also to share moments. And we have also some more creative events, as for example, this event which took place in Salon de Provence in south of France, where they organized events as if it took place in 2051, and to show everything which happened over the last 30 years to get where they were in 2051. So it seemed they were still alive, which is great news. So yeah, actually, there's a lot possible during the Festival of the Possibles, and I wanted to share some pictures of you. So we have, so this is what I was talking about events linked to mobility. So this is, for example, a stand of Greenpeace doing a village of associations. We also, events are very often very festive. We, because it's also supposed to be a nice moment together to celebrate what you're doing all year long for the transitions. So that means that people are coming together and have time to talk and have time to network and yeah, to catch up. So yeah, from the feedback we have why people are organizing events, said Suzie, it's often to network, to show initiatives, and to get new people involved, and to spend a nice time together. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to show you, actually. And so if you're, so yeah, as part of my job is to make it as easy as possible for people to organize events. We actually have some documents we share, and we have one document with IDs of events. So events I just talked about are described in this document. So you can have a look at it if you want, if you read a little bit of French, and otherwise, if you have any questions about type of events, we can talk about it. I can share it with you just after this. And also last year we made some videos to inspire people. So if you want to check out these videos after this meeting, it's also possible. I will give you the link of our YouTube channel. Oh, I just need to upload. I will send to everybody. Yes, so that's actually what I do. And maybe if you want to talk about more specific events or specific things, just ask questions and then we will talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for this overview. It's very, very good to see your different, just the different way you support and you celebrate within your sustainable communities, also in different scales, Suzie and Tebben. For now, I would also like to share very briefly just our website for those who don't know it, because it's very straightforward. It holds a lot of information and about the sustainable layered communities, European sustainable communities, and also how to propose, register an event. So if you go to our page, communitiesforfuture.org, and then go to events, you have here the page dedicated to the sustainable communities. You could join us, and then you have really a lot of clear information translated in a few languages. And you have some data to present to your community or to your organization. You have a bit of the history, what's going on for 2022. Registrations will be open in June. Why this is celebrated and organized, and then you can just register your event or reach out to the national contact points in your country. And then you also have some communication material, and obviously you can also just contact Elise directly if you have some more specific question. So just wanted to quickly share this. I am aware, Irena, that you already also have a presentation. And also I am aware that people are eager to make questions. Some questions are already popping up in the chat. So do you want to present briefly and then we go to the questions? I can give you.
Yes, okay.
So you have sharing permissions.
So our association started as a community center in 2011. And we didn't have anything in our neighborhood, no market, cultural center, library, farmers market. So we organized it all in this little space. And it was like, we started it like this. It was this empty square where we started to planting flowers and gather people from the community and started talking what are we missing and what we need to do. And so now after 10 years of working, we have a lot of activities, more than 1,000 in 1 year, and 50 volunteers that are working something. These are some photos and all kinds of repairs, cooking together, knitting, exchanging clothes and books. So this year we started another community center in the rural area, in a house, in a family house in the downstairs, where we also plan to develop and connect this village and urban all together, like bringing culture and urban activities to the village and bringing farmers from the village to the city. So this is what we do, and I think so this is what I wanted to share. I think the main problem in Croatia is that we don't have a lot of people that do things like that. So it is hard to find these people that will organize something like that. It is really new to our culture. So we are still the permaculture activists. We are still the we lack more of people like us. So it's hard for us to gather more and to put more activities on the map, because I'm the one that is organizing events and supporting initiatives that are starting. And I don't know how to explain. When Tebben, you say you have 80 organizations that do this kind of thing, for me this is incredible. I can't imagine how Croatia would look like if we had 80 organizations that do something like that. So for me it's amazing and very inspiring. Thank you, Suzie and Tebben.
Thank you, Irena, for bringing your presentation. That really added more diversity to the session. So now the floor is open for questions, comments, questions.
Yeah, so feel free to raise your hand and you can share your question. You can also write it in the chat if you prefer, and we'll have some time. Yeah.
Karen, go ahead.
Hi. Yep. Just generally interested to know. I sent a direct message out to Suzie in terms of, we do stuff ourselves, and we've run some climate days and you know, I suppose education seminars at a local level. But I'm just wondering how we can connect that to what you're doing with Ecolise. What's the best, apart from the sustainability day and actually advertising it through the website itself? Is there any other things that we can link up with to I suppose build on what we're doing?
I might answer the first part and then let Silva, Sarah and Laura and others in Ecolise that, you know, are engaged in other projects. I mean, like initially for me, it was connecting through the European Day, but the Communities for Future website allows you to also kind of register a project and reach out and connect, you know, on other projects across the network. And I think that's just something that's worth, you know, having a look at and see, you know, like the eco municipalities, for example, that Angela is involved with. You know, there's some really interesting connected pieces, but I think there are also a number of other programs that Ecolise runs that I'll let the others speak to.
Yeah, to the second part of the question, I can add that for now we are moving with the ecosystem of communities of practice project, and so that's an entry point to connect more with other projects, especially learning communities and communities of practice that are tackling these themes. So that's on the way, and that's also visible in the Communities for Future website. You can always engage in this Communities for Future session, and also be part of the main release where we share a lot more information of ways to engage. So even if you simply subscribe to the monthly newsletter in Ecolis, there are opportunities to engage in programs, and we also share funding opportunities, etc.
And Karen, I'm curious for a question to you. How did you find out about today's session?
I don't know. I'm on a network of networks, and people send me through things that may be of interest to me. Probably as somebody in the LEN or the local environmental network sent it through and said, maybe you'd be interested in this, because we've already done some stuff on sustainable communities at a local level, as I say, but we haven't really kind of ramped up anything. Well, obviously with COVID, we couldn't really do very much other than, community gardens in the area. And so I just thought this might be a means to getting ideas to go a little bit further. That was it. But in short, I don't know. I'm sure it was one of my links. I can find out for you.
So I would say check the website and register an event for the European Day of Sustainable Communities as a way to start.
I think I registered with Ecolis already. I think I am, and that's probably where it came through. But just for today's session, as far as I know, it was somebody who sent me a link. So thank you.
And one other thing that maybe Ad would say something about, because one of the connections that excited me about getting involved with Ecolis originally was the connection between gathering all of this activity and driving policy changes at the EU level that would then support it. And I think, Ad, you've just done a bit of work on policies. You actually said you like that work, which I'm kind of amazed at. Not everybody likes policy work.
Catherine?
Well, it wasn't like I like policy work, but this was from bottom up. So we could write to the European community, to the European Commissioner about what eco-villages and other communities for future do. That is also has the same object as the European Union has. So I think that what we do, we're way ahead of anything that the EU wants to do. In 2050, they want to be climate neutral, and eco-villages are climate positive already now. So yeah, so we can be an example and a pioneer for the EU, and I think that they understand that. So it wasn't that writing policy was my big thing. I don't like that. But writing about what we do as a community, I like doing that.
Catherine?
I am amazed and inspired by the stuff that has already been done. It's like, Tebben, how have you managed to organize so many events? I kind of hope that isn't the expectation, is to organize hundreds of events. I've got lots of questions, but my two main questions are, what specifically did you do to support individual projects to run events? Did you provide them with any money? Did you create a template for what an event could look like? How did you support those projects? That's question number one. And question number two is, what has everybody done to promote these events? Because it's not just about organizing them; it's about making sure they're well attended. What have you done in terms of being able to share these events and publicize them? other than them being mapped onto the Elise website?
That's a question. The first question is for Tebben, right?
Yeah, because I think probably Tebben, because you know, you did say that you'd created some resources for people who wanted to set projects up, and I'd, you know, I think it would make sense for us to do something similar. So I'd love to know what level of support you offered.
Yeah, sure. So well, as I said, I did myself not organize a single event, so I.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks. It's part of my job to do nothing. No, so the thing is, we have this all these national partners, partner organizations, and what we do is that we prepare communication campaigns. So one which is running from March to June to invite people to organize events, and then we have a second communication campaign from August to September, which is aimed at inviting people to come to the events. So that's in terms of communications at the national level. But for us, the most important thing is not the national communication, but communication at the local level. So, for example, we organize workshops about how to communicate, and we have made a handlet, kind of a guidebook on how to communicate on events and how to attract people to your event. So, for example, about how do you talk to the media, how do you use social media, all that kind of things. And then we also have made resources on how to organize an event, so especially on bigger events. So I showed you some small events, but some of the events have 1,000 or 2,000 people coming. So that's how do you manage such big events. And then we have all kind of resources. Actually, we have I will send you one of the pages of our website where we have our resources. So there's a lot about communication. There's a lot about ideas on events, and also on how to organize events with other organizations. And so it seems a lot, but what we invite the local organizations to do is just to show what they already do. So it's not to do something new, it's just show to people what you already do on a yearly basis to change your local community, show it to the others ones. So if you have a sustainable farm, so just open your doors and show people what you're doing. If you, I don't know, if you, yeah, or kind of just show people what you're already doing, and keep it simple.
And did you provide any financial support to the small projects to organize an event, or was that their responsibility to find funding or to create their own resources?
Yeah, no, we didn't provide any fundings, and most of the events use very little funding. So it's just a few €100 to print some invitations and to buy some drinks for people and that kind of things, but not much.
Thank you. That's really helpful, because what I imagined with our network, because we've got a big network of demonstration sites and projects, is I'd really love to do exactly that, for them to just open their doors and to tell people within their own communities what they're doing. You know, and for them, maybe the benefit is that they find new volunteers or make new partnerships. So.
Yeah, and I think it is worth saying that the scale in France and the customization of the European Day in each individual country, because like Tebben and I have been sitting in the group of national contact points for some time, we get to hear all the different approaches, and they are quite different, you know, and I think that's actually really a richness to it, that there is, you know, like Croatia and Ireland scale would be not so big. You know, I think the most we've got up to was 30 events at one point, you know, but then that actually really represented an awful lot of networks as well. So it's not, you know, the scale is quite varied. But I know, like, for example, in Scotland, they did use the grant from Ecolise to give small amounts of money to incentivize events to happen. So, like, it's actually very flexible in that way. And I think one of the things that we do but that same, I would say that very same thing about trying to get people to show what they do already. So, like, sometimes we've said, if you're just going to have a group meeting and you know, make it a potluck supper and put it on the map. You know, so it's just yourselves. You don't even have to open the doors. You're just putting yourselves more visible in the world, you know, and getting to showcase what you already do. So it can be even at that scale.
Thank you.
I think Permaculture UK, before your time, Catherine, I think did a whole lot of permaculture picnics. Encourage people just to get together and have a picnic.
I think that was happening just as I joined. Yeah.
Yep. So very, very simple. I do one event, unlike you, Tebben, I organize one event of my own every year on our own permaculture farm. And it's usually apple pressing or cuttings sharing or something like this.
Yeah, and so there was another question for me I saw about the network. It's not funded by government. It's a network of organizations who are all engaging people in social, democratic and sustainable transitions. But it's not governmental.
Oh yeah, I meant to say the same thing, that apart from the little bit of funding we get from Ecolise as a national contact point, none of the networks in Ireland have funding. Community Gardens Ireland, Permaculture Ireland, Eco Village Ireland, Transition Ireland, they're all volunteer run. They have no national funding or any kind of funding. So you can do a lot on volunteering.
But I'm curious, Tebben, your work is resourced, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or maybe I missed.
Yeah, we have money from how do you call it, funds.
Do you mean fundraising?
Yeah, fundraising. Yeah, fundraising.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Is there any other parts that I can read your comment, Kathleen. Are we dropping the theme of youth now? I really like the use of it. We are not dropping the theme of youth, but it's wide. It's wide, the amount of the themes that can be part of the EDSC. It's just out of a reference that this year, and I haven't spoken about it yet, but this year we decided to use the theme of youth to align with orientations from the European Union. So that's also as we work, we are working for the European Sustainable Communities, but also to align that with the Communities for Future strategy, which is very much connected also with what's going on at the European level. So this is all very interconnected. That's why it's also strategic this year to follow up on this youth team. Duncan, you raise your hand.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, just a question about mapping, because I think it's very interesting when the event is on and people get a moment where they go, oh, look what's out there. And then you can, like Suzie was saying, see the other ones who are around, see what sort of groups there. And I'm wondering, either at the national level, like, do you have just a map of all the different communities that do exist? Because sometimes even these groups under the radar find it hard to connect with others under the radar because they're so far under the radar. And there might be little threads of connections between kind of local connections through friend kind of networks, no? So I'm wondering, does that happen at the national level? But then also, how are things with the CFF mapping side? Because I know that there's like Elise has a map, and I put the maps into the chat. Elise has one map. CFF has another mapping space with two different maps, one which seems to be just French and the other not. And then I'll just give a good example of one that's just a Portuguese and Spanish only, including Latin America, map of local initiatives, which is like the Madrid map has over 700 local initiatives. So I think this is a challenge, and it could be very interesting and helpful for us to kind of start encouraging if we had a space or resource to capture this.
Can I carry on? It's not directly connected. Thank you all, the very, very interesting presentations. And I was thinking of the difficulty of connecting the rural and the urban communities. And I think that's a challenge everywhere. But in Portugal, it's almost anecdotal, because sometimes you have very rural, so it's a very small country, but even so, the difference between the different areas is huge. And sometimes you have a new factory or something that is quite in the interior, and the first thing the new workers want is to buy a new car. So even if the local municipalities have local transport, they wouldn't use it. So it's a kind of how do you change mentality? And Portuguese people love to party. So they are great party organizers. So there are parties everywhere. But it's very, very hard to connect the party and the sustainable change. So it's quite a challenge. So it's like a race and also we have the pressure from tourism, the pressure from overcoming the economic crisis. We have one of the lowest medium income in Europe. So there are a lot of, we have a huge inequality. So inequality is huge. So you have a lot of social problems that are not very visible. So it's not, I don't want to take too much time, but just to say that I think that we really have a lot to learn from this kind of small meetings, that we have people that we can share similar problems, we can learn from different initiatives. And I think that within the Portuguese territory, we have the best of the best, and also some not very nice situations of, how do you say, development that is going the wrong way. So you get funding, you get a lot of support, but it's going the wrong way. So it's supporting the wrong message. And it's very, very hard to, so you cannot denounce it, you cannot face it directly, but there's a lot of work to gain support from doing better. I think that's the issue, to do better. Okay, thank you. Very inspiring.
Thank you, Angela. And as you and Duncan are here, and me as well from Portugal, I think we can start in the background, partnering more to have more communities participating in this and part of these monthly sessions also. Why not? So very useful resources are being shared in the chat. I see that Laura has been taking notes of your questions and answers, so we will have everything compiled in the presentation that we will send afterwards. I'm curious to hear from people that haven't spoken yet. How do you feel? Do you feel more confused? Do you feel clear? Are you inspired to start somewhere, maybe register an event, or are just inspired to connect further with Elise? Okay, I can read the third comment. In terms of power relations, have you mapped relations between actors with different levels of power, which political and economic actors are supporting and are they part of the movements? We haven't done that work in Elise. Do you want to say a bit more about the context of this question? What is your interest? Maybe you cannot unmute yourself. I don't know. So we have here. I also wanted to share this possibility with you. Okay, thank you, Philippe. Can you unmute yourself? Do you want to share in a live voice?
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, hello everybody. By the way, I am Felipe. I am a student from the Granada University. And my research is about the transitions. So these transitions in the global north and the transitions in the global south. So yeah, my question is in terms of the power relations. So if you have this kind of work, do it. I mean, if you have mapping the relations between actors with different levels of power, politicians, corporations, or the owners of the corporations, or I mean something that give you more strong social power, strong, and maybe you have identified this kind of people that they are interested in support of all of those activities that get to the point. I mean, get to the transitions to these and other kinds of way of lives, science 50 years ago, but right now it looks like a great acceleration, or and visibility or all these events and all these eco-village, permaculture, and degrowth movements, and all those kind of paradigms that they want to change from the hegemonic system. So that's my main question. If you have mapped these actors that can make more strong these initiatives. Thanks. And congratulations, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Well, on Elise level, that has not been one of the focus of our work. I'm not sure if from any of the networks or organizations here present, if you are familiar with such mapping.
I think that's one of the things that can be difficult to respond to, asked of Elise, because it is a network of networks. So there is work going on. I know from several of the other networks trying to address issues of power and social justice. I know it's been a conversation in the International Permaculture Collaborative Laboratory, which Permaculture UK is involved with, and I'm involved with a group that's quite international and includes people from the global south, looking at power in permaculture teaching and dynamics, you know. So I know within networks there's a lot of this, but in terms of stakeholder mapping and positionality and power, you know, I think a lot of the times you have grassroots, small scale, you know, local organizations that are working with other local organizations on social justice issues. But no, I don't think it has been a focus of EcoLease, the organization, but a focus of some of its member networks in terms of any project work I'm aware of.
Thanks for complimenting the answers. And I see Angela is also giving some input on the chat. So also I'm aware of time when we have 15 minutes to the end of the session. Before we finish, I'd like to share also with you this opportunity, which is the possibility to be a partner for the European Day of Sustainable Communities. At this moment, we are not ready, let's say, to support more national contact points in the role like Suzie, Tebben, or Irena that was here, and Duncan are, but that can change in the short, medium term, we're not sure. And also Catherine. So we have a lot of national contact points here present. But there's the possibility to become a partner of the European Day of Sustainable Communities. And the role is similar, but with less commitments. So basically it would be that you would receive the material and more direct supports, so you can support your members and other people and communities in your country or region, depending on the scale of your work, who are interested in co-creating the day. So this can be an opportunity for you, Aleg, from what I understood, that is your position in your organization. So we would also expect from a partner translation of some material into your local language, promoting the day and events in this week. And also, in case you're connected with local or national journalists, to help us liaise with them, so we can support also with content for press releases, for example. So if you are interested in this, you can write me. I can write my email here in the chat. So for now, I'm sharing this possibility here, but soon we will be sharing it also through EcoLease newsletter. So just want to give you a last opportunity for some sharing and comments before we check out. Okay, so
I want to know something.
Go ahead.
May I?
Yes.
I want to know the opinion of all of you in terms of historical view. What do you think in what part of the history we are as a global community, just for say something, to our getting connect and and make visibility this kind of actions and all this kind of initiatives. That's what I want to know. Like, what's your feeling? What's your thinking about in a historical timeline, in which part we are with all these initiatives around the world? Thanks.
Thank you, Felipe. Even though that is a bit off topic, I would like to, if people are welcome to respond, and it's good to see your face, Felipe. I don't know what, hello. I don't know what you mean exactly by historical timeline, but my feeling also working in equities and with the Communities for Future program is, my feeling is about convergence. So I really see that Communities for Future working with the mainstreaming of the work of community-led initiatives. So I feel that convergence is the word that I find to answer your question. So that would be it. I don't know if someone very briefly wants to respond to Felipe, otherwise we can just check out. It's sort of a more philosophical question. Normally Angela likes these questions, right? So what I suggest you, Felipe, is to engage through the Communities for Future community board. I'm going to share here the link so you can stay connected, because I sense that there is a lot of will to stay connected, and that's very, very good, very positive. So we'll just find here the link to the community, this one. And yeah, actually it's important to share with you all. So it's here in the chat. It's for now, it's just a Facebook group. It's not perfect, but it's what we have for now. Let's do a round and just stating what we take from this session, and are we inspired to participate in the European Day of Sustainable Communities? Thank you, Laura.
I can start and pass to someone if you like.
Yes.
I find it still a small miracle that through Zoom I can talk to people in Spain, Belarus, Holland, and Netherlands, you know, Lisbon. So I think there's something very simple in connecting, and I enjoy doing it. So thank you for coming and connecting. And I'll pass to Catherine.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I've really enjoyed today's session, and I just feel so excited about what you're all doing. It's like I kind of want to come and do European Day of Sustainable Communities where you all are, and I felt like this was quite a practical session. I feel I've written a list with 7 things that I need to do on it next. So I'm feeling a lot more confident in terms of how to take this forward. And I would really appreciate, I will pop on to the group at some point, because it would be really nice to share some ideas, and particularly in terms of useful resources that I may have to share with you, and resources that you may already have collected that perhaps you could share with me. So yeah, thank you. And I will pass to Angela.
Thank you. It was very exciting being here, and it's we could stay here talking, so it's good, and it's quite inspiring, and it's good that we can go on some other time. So thank you all, and yes, I'd love to stay in contact with Felipe, knowing more about your work. So I'll see you here sometime, because we are in the future. That's my take. We are in the future. The future is today. And I pass it to you, Felipe.
Well, I'm surprised, and I'm very grateful for listening to you and learn how are you doing the things and trying to be connected, and make this effort with the heart, with the vision to visualize all the activities and the initiatives that everybody is doing in localities. So thanks for that. And for me, it's very good and it's very interesting. So I pass the word to who is Duncan.
Thanks, Felipe. Yeah, it's always good to connect with new bits and new ideas, new possibilities. I still think that the challenge is to see about how can we jump out of our little ghetto, our little bubble. And I think there's a huge opportunity. Just a quick response to Felipe. Where are we in the story? It's now granted that we're, unless we change quickly, we're dead as a species. But the big wake up was 2019 with all the kids on the streets. So if we can harness and plug this in with that and find ways of making bridges, then we've got a game changer. And I think that should be one of our challenges. And yeah, it's a great adventure to connect with brilliant people who are passionate about living. And Angela, I'm looking forward to, and I'm inspired by hearing that you're in favor and supporting all these ideas of parties in Portugal. So I'm looking forward to organising and going to a party with you and getting more people to have more parties, because I think that's part of the key. And I'll pass on over to Tebben.
Thanks, Duncan. Yes, it was really nice to meet you all. And actually, Catherine, I'm really interested in the list of things you are going to do. I would really like to hear them. Also inspired by you all and to see you all from these different countries, and nice to meet someone from Belarus. So I don't know if I give it back to Catherine or to Aleg. Would you like to share your list with us, Catherine?
Oh, it's not everybody that wants to hear my list. Sure, I'm happy to read it to you. Okay, some of this is simple, that will be stuff that you're doing already, but number one, look at the map on the website and get confident with how to add projects. I need to speak to the finance person at the Permaculture Association about the money we've been allocated from EcoLease to work out possibly bursaries for projects to support them with some of the basic costs for running events and how many projects we can support. To create a template for promoting the event. This list is all based on what you said, Tebben. Create a template in terms of getting people to make a proposal for the event that they would like to run, and then share that with the network. To speak with our events coordinator at the Permaculture Association to find out all the resources he has in terms of good practice with running events to share with the network. To find information on supporting resources. So some of the stuff that you talked about in terms of how to write a press release, how to do a good social media post, how to organise a successful event, how to manage the health and safety around an event. To look at the European Day of Sustainable Communities website in terms of finding logos and branding for all of our posters and for our publicising the events. And to find a sample press release to share with people, or to write an example press release about this day. That's my 7 things.
Thanks a lot. Very interesting.
That's an amazing summary. Aleg, do you want to go next?
Yes. Thank you very much for so interesting event, and thank you for invitation to be a part of European Day of Sustainable Communities, especially in this day in September. We will have interesting festival in our district with the name of Cranes and Cranberries. It's when a lot of these birds are connected together to go to more warmer countries from our winter. It's also a symbol of connection and a symbol of joint work. And now I'm thinking about how to use these possibilities when, for example, we will have this festival and make something like big screen together with your faces from different countries, something like this. It's, I will think, and thank you, Sarah, I will write you our proposals and think about the future. Now in Belarus, not so easy times, you know, especially grave situation in Ukraine, but we have to think about future help in creating communities, local communities in Belarus, and renovating local communities in Ukraine. It's can be very important mission of our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Aleg. Very, very beautiful, inspiring. Well, I can go next and then I'll pass. So it's been a pleasure to be here. I feel like even also it's quite recent, my involvement with the MCPs. I feel like I'm owning in the good sense, you know, like embodying more and more the purpose, the work, and that's really very good. You know, I'm just very, very grateful to know your work and to be part of it. So, and I'm very happy to hear Catherine's list. You're just raising your hand, Catherine.
Do we have a date for the next meeting so I can put it in my diary now?
The internal meeting is on the second Tuesday each month, so it's the 10th of May.
10th of May, thank you.
And now I pass
That's
it to...
for existing national contact points, or it could be open perhaps to people wanting to become national contact points. I don't know. But and then you're going to do more Community for Future series like this as well, open meetings.
It's one every month also, and I will share about it in a minute, one about in May.
So can we start to, with these meetings, the Communities for Future meetings, when we've engaged some of the projects that might want to do events for this, can we invite them to come along to these meetings?
So that's something that we need to discuss as the NCPs, because that's also a question I have. One thing is the sessions that are mandatory, let's say, for the official NCPs, but it would be very good, very helpful to have regular sessions just for people that are connected with organizations and people that want to connect around the EDSC. But that's something that we need to decide as a group. And then what comes out of it, then everybody here in the session will be notified of what we decide together. But that's really good that it's coming up in this session already. So yeah, passing on to Altz for some checkout words.
Yeah, for the checkout. I was also very nice to be here, and last year we were focusing on the presentation of the policy paper online, so we didn't get to organize an event in our own country. But I think this year we're going to do that, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I pass on to Laura.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'm also enjoying the time to connect and hear from different people already involved a lot in different ways in the events, part of different movements, or curious to learn and hear more. I agree, it felt like an engaging session, rich with both stories and then practical opportunities. So I enjoyed being part of that, and yeah, thank you all for joining us, and look forward to see what kind of emerges in the next months and for this year's event. Yeah, I think Tebben, you have another chance to share some last words.
Yes, I did. Felipe, did you? Felipe?
Yeah,
did
everybody went, right?
Okay.
Only Alexandra that just joined. I don't know if you want to say hello.
Hello and
check
goodbye.
out at the same time. I also want to share with you then this. Okay, so just sharing with you the May sessions. So I'm also, let's see. information about this, but this will be the topic for the May session. That will be in the end of May, on the 30th, and that will be about bringing the EU Green Deal to local levels. So through the community-led local development funding opportunities. So this is going to be a very key session also around getting resources to local communities. So you're very much invited to come. Okay, so thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.